So I'm gonna be I'm gonna be real transparent with you and tell you I wanted to cover a couple of things today dealing with some pertinent topics. Who amongst you is hosting an open house this weekend? Anybody? Okay, so Tracy is. Nobody else. We have a what I think is probably near record 9 open houses happening this weekend. 2 being added today. I think 7 of them are already covered. If anybody wants to take one, you might want to reach out to Christina pretty quickly.
So I
don't
have
even
a
know.
question. Sorry to interrupt you. If I saw Christina just posted one kind of in the Johns Creek, Alpharetta area, I'm interested in that. And I went with Jessica to host one with her last weekend. But as far as like pulling the detail and creating a flyer, if I come into the office tomorrow, can you help me with that?
Absolutely. Me, help desk will work with you on that one. So if you want to volunteer for one of those, we can definitely do that. And we can cover some of the material today that I wanted to cover about just some reminders about how to conduct an open house, as well as showing touring agent activities. So we'll cover those very, very briefly. To be honest with you, it's going to be more important for Lacey. I know Tracy and Claire, you guys are probably fairly experienced at this, but some of these things might be just good reminders for you. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Ready to get rolling, folks? All right. So you know what? I was going to cover let's cover touring agent first. Okay, and we'll just go through this very briefly. I'm going to provide you the information. We're going to put this online too, so you can have all this information, and you don't need to take notes or commit anything to memory, but it's a good idea to talk about this stuff. Okay, hang on, let me share my screen. Okay, y'all looking at steps for successful tour/showing? Yes. Okay, thank you. So let's just kind of go through this. So preparing for the tour. So whenever you have a showing tour, the way that first off that you communicate to the world that you're interested in doing showings for other agents is you let the help desk know, and you watch on showing time for opportunities to take somebody out. Okay, and you raise your hand and you volunteer as quickly as humanly possible. Y'all know these things go really, really quickly. Okay, for somebody like Lacey, this is going to be more key. There are 2 ways in which you could end up with a tour to take somebody out to show a house. One is if somebody has called, they are not represented by an agent, and they've called about one of our listings. Say, for example, they've got one of Claire's listings. And Claire can't show that house, but you can, because why? Who does Claire work for?
The agent, the seller.
She's working for the seller, so she can't also help a buyer with the same property. So that's when you would have an opportunity. Okay, so that's one possibility. In which case, if they're an unrepresented unrepresented buyer, then they're free game, and that could potentially be a new client for you. Okay. However, if Claire gets a phone call from an agent that I can't make it over there to show the home, is there any chance you could open the door or something along those lines? There is the possibility that it's the other way around. It's one of our agents that is unavailable to take a buyer out on a Saturday morning or whatever, in which case you're helping somebody who's already represented by one of our Century 21 agents, in which case you're more of a glorified Uber driver. Okay, you're opening the door, you're being friendly, cordial, and helpful, but don't let that minimize your impact on the scenario. You still have to present a professional image to the client. You still have to provide the valid information and the information that the client is looking for. You still need to be prepared, all of those kind of things, but you may just not have the opportunity to get a new client out of that type of a scenario. Okay, makes sense? maybe a gross oversimplification, but sometimes that is necessary. So when you have your first showing tour, you're going to connect with that lead agent, the agent that is the one that has the source of why the tour is necessary. And you connect with that person and then connect with the seller or the buyer in terms of finding out the time. Set the time to set up the tours and set up those tours through the Showing Time app on MLS. Okay, you want to pull all the homes being toured through the MLS, pull them up, have your instructions printed out, all the good stuff that you need to know. Check the availability of the homes, call the listing agent, see if there are any offers yet. Market is moving fast, so you got to be diligent. You got to move quickly on these things. And once you've confirmed your tour and your route, confirm with the client and always CC the lead agent on the itinerary that you're going to ship to your client. Okay. And I'm a big proponent, big fan of Showing Time using the Showing Cart. If you're not familiar with how to use the Showing Cart, it's a great tool and a great system, and we can do that at a future date in a future class. Okay. Those are all steps that you're going to be taking the day before or in the days in preparation of the tour. On the day of the tour, of course, you want to look professional and be happy to be there. You're the first impression and not the only lead, but also Century 21. So be sure you're dressed appropriately. You're representing our client as well as our brokerage. You may want to update your super key prior to going to open up the door, because it might take, sometimes those things take 20, 30 seconds to update. And so you want to make sure you've done that before you arrive there. You want to arrive early for your showing, for the first showing, and have the home prepared, have the door already open, have the lights already on. Make sure that the AC is, comfortable in the home, that it's not 120 degrees in there. Some of these things are very obvious. Always knock before. You never know who might be home. Turn on the lights, open the doors, greet your clients with a smile. It's always a good rule of thumb to have the MLS sheet in front of you to give a brief summary of the home. So I always give them the vital stats as they're walking in the front door. Okay, so this is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square feet, built in 1993. And then you can go through and start with the features of the home. Got any questions? I'm hearing background and I can't tell if it's just background noise. I'm going to mute a couple of folks. Any questions on anything so far?
Yes, Jay.
Yeah.
So you said for us to call the listing agent.
Mm-hmm.
Should we run that by the whoever asked us to do it first? Because that sounds a little intrusive to me. I don't know if you sure?
You're calling to check availability of the home and make sure that it's not already under contract. That's what the intent there is, to make sure that you're not wasting everybody's time by going to a house that's already under contract, because that's how fast the market is moving.
Okay, so all the agents know, because I don't want anybody thinking we're stepping on their toe, Like, I don't know. Okay.
Nope. You're good. All right. Let me share my screen again. I can't remember where we left off, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Let the clients and the buyers tour the property and be available for questions. Once the showing is over, turn off the lights and lock up. And return the key to the super lockbox. Here's the 2 keys that are getting missed the most, and these are the ones that I'm going to beat the drum very loudly on. Okay, so when you are done showing properties to a client, you want to provide valid feedback to several different people. First off, you want to provide that feedback to the lead agent that sent you the showing opportunity in the first place. Okay, so if it was Claire's listing, it was Claire's clients that I showed a bunch of properties for, I'd come back to Claire and I'd say, okay, the first one they absolutely hated. The second one was a 5 out of 10 on the scale, and the third one they really liked, but there was problems with X, Y, and Z. Okay, so you provide that feedback to one agent, 2, I really encourage you to leave feedback to the listing agent through the showing time system. You know, I'll see those emails that come to you after you show a house and say, please provide feedback. So again, I will beat my drum on this one too and say, always, always, always leave feedback. Okay. Even if it's a few words of buyers did not like the house for this reason or that reason. Okay. So you're going to leave feedback to 2 different people. And then the second part of this is you want to send a message to the help desk that the showing has been completed. Okay. So remember, some of these are paid opportunities, or not some, but the vast majority are paid opportunities. And if you find out that you've shown a house, I can't tell you how many times this actually happened to me yesterday when an agent I was coaching said, well, I showed a house 3 weeks ago and I haven't been paid for it yet. And so I'll go, did you send a message to the help desk saying that the showings had been completed? No, did not. Well, guess what? That's the trigger. That trigger, that email to the help desk saying that I've shown properties 1, 2, and 3 on Saturday for Claire. That's how you get paid for your showing and for the tour. Okay. Without that, it's not going to happen. All right. There's one other thing that I want to show you guys. After a showing takes place, this is something that we are going to be doing. We're actually going to be sending a survey to the agent that helped you host this this property, or that. Trying to make this bigger, and why is it not making it bigger? How's that? So we're going to ask the agent that provided you the showing opportunity how they were satisfied with your performance. Very satisfied, somewhat, neither satisfied, very dissatisfied. We've had some concerns and some issues where people have either not completed the tours, not communicated very effectively, not provided feedback. So we wanted to create some systems and processes around that. So we're actually going to be surveying the agent that sent you that opportunity to make sure that you're doing an adequate job. Okay. So similarly, when you host an open house, you're going to get one that looks just almost exactly the same, except for it's going to be for the open house. Did you do a good job? Did you stay throughout the entire time? And would that agent recommend you for another open house opportunity? Okay. Any questions on any of that? Nobody? Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about open houses. Similar processes, similar steps, and we've tried to make it as simple and easy as possible. I'm going to mute somebody because I got a lot of background noise. Okay, so steps for a successful open house. You got the open house. Send an email to let us know what date and time you'll be hosting the open house, and the help desk will put it into the MLS. Okay, you are the hosting agent. You need to familiarize yourself with the property before you go to the open house. I strongly recommend that you physically go to the house.
Mike, we can't really hear you. It's a lot of noise.
Let's see. I think everybody's muted. Are you hearing me? Is there background in my? Go ahead.
We can hear you, but there's a lot of noise in the background, so it's harder to hear you. We can hear everybody in the background for some reason today. We can hear you still. It's just very, very loud in the background. That's all.
Well, folks, I am sorry. I don't have a solution.
That's okay.
That's the only thing I'm saying the truth about.
Okay. But for the open house, you want to physically go to the house. You want to see where it is positioned in the neighborhood. You want to get an idea of how many directionals you might need for signs to be able to get to the house for the open house. And you kind of want to scope it out. You want to see what you're dealing with and where you want to minimize things, where you want to maximize the views, things like that when you're going to the house. Okay, so and you want to be familiar with all the vital details about the house. You want to find out if there's an HOA, what are the schools that are close by, and you want to run a full CMA, have your comps so you know the other houses that are in the neighborhood, so that you know how yours measures up, and two, you want to know if they're not interested in your house, they might be interested in the one that's right down the street in the same subdivision that's under contract or that's on the market. Okay? Sorry, folks, I didn't realize I was still sharing my screen. Okay. So you want to run a CMA, and then you want to start marketing the open house through your social channels. Get the messages out diligently by word of mouth. You can use Facebook Live, you can use TikToks, you can use everything. You might even want to consider some of the ones like nextdoor.com, neighborhood Facebook groups. If there's a group for that particular subdivision, you might want to put in something in there. Okay. And I don't think it's actually listed in here, but you may actually want to do some door knocking. You want to make a flyer, and you may want to actually go to the house and door knock. Is everybody familiar with 10-10-20? Claire, you're shaking your head. Go ahead. Tell them what
No.
10-10-20 is.
Isn't it like 10 contacts in
No,
10-mile radius of something?
10 to the right, 10 to the left, and 20 across the street.
That's got it.
Oh, that's
If you're doing an open house and you're going to go door knocking, and this is your subject house, you want to do 10 houses to the right on the same side of the street, 10 houses to the left, and the 20 houses that are across the street from your subject house. Okay. And what is a good script when you're door knocking to tell people in the neighborhood that there's an open house across the street?
More of like a heads up kind of thing, that you're just letting them know there may be some foot traffic, some cars in the street, but you just wanted to let them know, and then that kind of starts the conversation off as far as, maybe have y'all been thinking about moving, or do you know any neighbors that want to move to the neighborhood?
Absolutely. So, and you can, something along the lines of, hey, I just want to let you know that there's going to be an open house. We might have some traffic. There might be some cars there. It's a pretty crazy market. I apologize for that in advance. But, oh, by the way, by all means, come over. Take a look at the house. We have found that that the best source of new buyers for our neighborhood is the people that actually live in that neighborhood. And then, so you might get an additional client out of that. You might get a new seller. You might get somebody that's like, hey, you know what? We've been kind of watching that house because we're thinking about putting ours on the market. There's an opportunity for you. Okay. Great opportunities. All right. And then you can do your flyers. You can hand them a flyer for the actual property. And it's just a way to get your foot in the door. Okay.
Jay, why don't we do times on the signs? I think that would help so much.
Because the times are always published in MLS, and that's the source where most people go to be able to plan for open houses. To be honest with you, the days of people driving around neighborhoods looking for open houses within that neighborhood, pretty much with the advent of the internet, everybody's planning things that way instead of just driving through neighborhoods.
Well, what
Besides
I mean
that,
is like, so if the signs are put out on Friday and the open house is not until Sunday, people don't know when to go. Even if they follow the signs, they could be knocking on the door all day Saturday, and if it's empty, nobody's answering.
We do have signs that have the time riders on there, and if we know exactly when that is, we can put those out. It's not a problem. Okay.
quick question, Jay.
Go ahead, Matt.
With like, I've done a few open houses. Luckily enough, they've had like pamphlets on site for me to like hand out to people coming in. Now, is that something that you should expect most of the time? Is that something you request from help, or?
You absolutely request it from help. They can help create it, or they can work with the listing agent. The listing agent may have already done a flyer, in which case it's real easy to do. But if the listing agent hasn't done it, help desk can do a flyer for you, and you can have that and have it sitting right at the table right next to your cookies and snacks and what have you, waters. We didn't mention that in this. Okay. So that's the day in the preparation leading up to the open house. Share my screen again. And then the day of. Okay, so you want to look professional, show up happy to get to be able to open the house. Set up the outdoor directional signage in high traffic corners of the neighborhood. Help will usually do all of this for you, but of course you want to make sure that it's all set up correctly and it's all pointing in the right directions. And you may want to double check the positioning of those signs so that you can direct people in more easily. Okay. Turn on all the lights in the home, open all the doors. Make sure that you want to go through and do a little, maybe a little bit of cleaning, maybe flush some toilets or whatever is necessary depending upon the condition of the house. Okay. People buy homes with all of their senses, including their noses. Okay, so if there are some foul odors in the house, you might want to have something in your showing kit, like a little bit of air freshener or something along those lines. All right. And then you want to open the door and have your guests coming in. You want to have some, at a minimum, some bottled waters in the fridge, some candy, some light snacks. Be careful about homemade stuff because people with nut allergies and things like that, people get crazy about that kind of thing. Just be conscious of it. I personally would appreciate a home-baked cookie most of the time, but I don't have any allergies and I'm not sensitive to it. Other people might be. All right. Strongly recommend that you leverage your social media and do live events. Has anybody looked at and does anybody know or can quote the stats for live events, how much more views and more activity and engagement they get than if you record it and post a video later? It's dramatic. It's like orders of magnitude, like 3 times more likely to engage it if it's live as opposed to a recorded video. Okay. At the end of the open house, of course, also during the open house, you want to make sure people are signing in. So that you've got a trail and you can track them and you can put them in your database and mark it to them afterwards. But the other steps afterwards, stay until the end when you said you would stay till. If you advertised it from 1 to 4, don't leave at 3:30. It sends the wrong message. Even if it's dead and you've had no traffic whatsoever, you need to be there right up until the time. I was coaching somebody yesterday and they said literally people were showing up 10 minutes after the doors were advertised to be shut. So be conscious of that. All right. After the open house, you immediately want to call or email the listing agent with the amount of traffic that you've had, with some feedback, what people said about the house. They're going to want to know all that information because they're going to want to pass it on also to their sellers. All right. So it's key that they have that information. Clean up the home, turn off all the lights, lock the doors, all that kind of good stuff. If you are the last open house of the weekend, if you're doing this on Sunday afternoon, then you can help the help desk by picking up the directional signs, picking up any of that information and bringing it back to the office with you when you come. And then last but not least, always follow up with your contacts, put them on the drip campaign so that you can then potentially market to a whole new group of people. Okay.
Is there any way to,
Go ahead.
Is there any way to know how many signs were put out Does he write that down anywhere?
I couldn't tell you for sure. They usually put out a handful. It all depends on the layout of the neighborhood and how many are needed to be able to get you from. Usually what we do is from the front of the entrance of the subdivision to the house. So it
Right.
depends on how many turns there are to get you there. It could be one, it could be 26. It just kind of depends.
Right. And so when we're trying to pick them up, we don't know if we got them all. I had that issue this past weekend because there were a lot of, it was a street where they had a lot of different entrances. It wasn't a subdivision.
Yeah.
So I'm just driving around, not knowing if there are more out there. So,
yeah. Well, do the best you can. And if not, we know, the actual guys that put them out are the same people that would go back to pick them up. So I'm sure they'll figure that out. Okay. But thank you for your diligence with that.
I just want to point out as well especially for the newer agents that are girls that are going out there to do it. I had an issue one time around my first or second one that I had, and it was in the middle. Basically, the street was, all individual homes that had large walkways around the whole of the house. So the back door was open, the front door was open. Just be careful of which one you're locking first. Make sure your garage doors are down first, that nobody can come in the garage door and then go upstairs. Like, make sure all of your safety precautions are done first, because I had a situation where somebody had come in the back door but I'd already locked the front door, and I was down in the basement making sure that all the lights were off, and somebody was in the house as I came up. Anything can happen, so just make yourself aware that you're thinking to yourself, which one should I lock first, which one should I get out of first. So especially for the ladies out there, just keep yourself safe at the same time.
It's a good word, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
and I thought you were going to say another thing. I realized, because the house could be empty and there's no toilet paper, you're going to be there for 3 hours. You may toilet paper.
I've always got it.
Yeah, soap, paper towel, if you have a hand vac, because I had a bunch of stuff on the floor. Even a broom, and that, like, you can have a little kit ready,
Absolutely.
Sanitary wipes, but paper towel and toilet paper really help.
Well, Claire, I know Claire has done some of my other classes too, and she's probably referring to her showing kit that she keeps in the back of her car, which has toilet paper in it.
Toilet paper, water, hand sanitizer, pens, everything.
Crayons for the kids, some snacks, all of that. Yep. Okay. All right. I hope this was helpful. It's a bit of a review for some of you, but also new information for others. So appreciate your time and attention. Any last minute questions? Anything going on? Okay. Everybody have a great afternoon and go sell some real estate.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.